What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. I am the host of Epic Conversations, and the Dr. Vibe show is the place for epic conversations. Do note that I've hosted over 1,500 of these, maybe closer to 2,000 of these over 10 years, and I love what I do because I love sharing people's journeys, stories, and messages with you. Also know I'm a certified empowerment coach and president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. And we have another new friend on tonight. Who is our new friend? It's Vernon Lindsay. He is a consultant, writer, and practitioner of the Brazilian martial art called, I'm going to try to get this right, capoeira?
Capoeira.
Capoeira, sorry. I won't get that wrong again. So he is passionate, creative, experience, and that was my biggest concern about this epic conversation. I can get that word right. So I'm already back behind the pack. So I got to get to the front of the pack by the end of this. He's passionate, creative, and experienced individual who wants to help your organization achieve maximum results in diversity and inclusion, personal development, and well-being. He's a business and educational consultant, writer, and capoeirista. He provides works. I got it! Yay! And I'm going to try and say it again. That's it. He provides workshops that analyze and offer tangible solutions concerning diversity and inclusion, personal development, and well-being. This work derives from his experiences as a college professor, business owner, husband, and father. We are blessed and highly favored tonight to have him speak about an article he wrote at thegoodmenproject.com, which I'm a contributor of and have been for almost 4 years, called When Pretty Boys Become Men. So we're going to find a little bit about Vernon's background and his thoughts about manhood, personal and general experiences about manhood, and how he's instilling manhood into the two boys that he's raising. So we'd like to welcome to the conversation for the first time and not the last time, Vernon Lindsay. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Happy to be a part of this presentation. Happy to be here. Happy to share my thoughts.
Absolutely. We are very happy that you've taken the time out of your positive, productive schedule to share your thoughts. So as we like to do, especially the first time with friends on the Dr. Vibe show, can you give a little background about yourself, where you grew up, education? I know you had 5 sisters, so that's going to come into the piece a little bit too, but can you share some of your journey background with us?
Right. So I grew up in between the south side of Chicago and the south suburbs. I was born on November 4th of 1982, to be exact. And I was born into a family with a father who was a Pentecostal minister and a mother who was a social worker at times. She was a substitute teacher on other occasions, and just a really good, loving home. Brought up definitely a part of the church. We were in church, Sunday and Wednesday and on the weekends as well. And you know, that was really my childhood, spending a lot of time in the church and also spending time with my friends and trying to express and understand who I was at that time through this understanding of masculinity that I embraced. And so I went to high school out in a south suburb that's about 20 minutes from Chicago, and decided to go to school in the city at the University of Illinois in Chicago. So I did undergraduate school there, and then also went into graduate school and earned a PhD in policy studies and urban education. And so, you know, I've had a lot of really unique experiences as being the only boy. And you can imagine what it's like growing up in a household where you have 5 sisters. And lots of interesting stories came out of that, one of which I did share a bit and a piece of how, you know, I came to understand who I am through the article that I wrote for the Good Men Project. So currently right now, I live in Mexico with my wife and 3 children. I was working at the University of Illinois in Chicago as a professor in the honors college there. And I did that for 3 years, and then decided it was really time to do something different, really time to do something to stretch myself. And so my wife and I decided we wanted to do something really fantastic for our children, to give them an opportunity to learn Spanish, to experience another culture, and we made the big move, and we've been here since October of 2016.
Okay. Well, you know, right there, we have enough to talk about, not even talking about the article. You know that already. So we're going to try to be as efficient as possible. Some of the things I want you to share about in regards to growing up, and there's 3 different areas I'd like to have you share about. First of all, what was it like growing up as a young black man in Chicago?
It was really perplexing, to say the least, you know, because I had this dichotomy that I was dealing with in terms of how I saw myself. On the one hand, I was trying to be the perfect son for my father and for my mother in terms of being involved in church and trying to do what's right within that environment, but also just really wanted to be one of the guys from around the block. And so I had this constant kind of conflict within myself. It was like there was this one version of manhood that I was being taught at home, and then this other version that I was being taught at school, on the playgrounds, when I was out with my friends. And so it was a kind of conflicting coming to myself that took place for a lot of my childhood. And I really think that I'm now starting to really understand truly who I am, because I've removed from those external influences. And, you know, it's been a process. It has definitely been one that has changed over time. At one point in time, I was really into hip-hop music, and I was really trying to define myself as like a gangster or some thug, and I really wasn't. But I thought that's what was needed in order for me to be true to myself, and in order for me to live up to the image of black males in our society. And so I dealt with that for a long time. And then there was this other time and point in my life where I knew I wasn't a gangster, I knew I wasn't a thug, but I was really trying to be like this player or something, like trying to have all these girlfriends, trying to have all these women, and that really didn't fit me either, you know. And so now that I'm a father, I'm married, I'm realizing more and more that true manhood is not about what others inform your manhood to be. It's really about how you define it for yourself. So, I mean, I would say growing up in Chicago, you just had these different ways by which you understood yourself. Oftentimes they were informed by your friends and how they understood their selves within the society, and you try to compare that with your parents.
Cool. The next segment I want to look at in your time growing up as a young man, what was it like? 1 son, 5 daughters. Like, you're strong, man. You're strong.
Yeah, it was interesting, to say the least. My friends used to always like say stuff to like really get on my nerves. I don't know how many times I threatened to like literally thrash them or beat them up, because like my sisters, I have 5 sisters, and everybody has always said that they are very beautiful and attractive girls, and I agree. And so because of that, I've always had my friends tease me and try to say things like, oh, you know, your sister looks really good today, or, you know, I'm going to go talk to your sister. You know, just doing something to kind of pull that energy out of me. So it's kind of like this, like I knew there was a part of me that really knew that I had friends that were genuinely there for me and down for me. But another part of me was like, are you here for me, or are you really here just because you like my sisters, you know?
Right.
So it was one of those things. But, you know, I never got beat up. I mean, people often ask, like, did they ever beat you up? I never got beat up by my sisters. They never tag team or jumped on me. Did they ever tease me? Absolutely. If I'm completely honest, did they ever put makeup on me? Yeah, they did that.
Oh my!
But you know, but I was never beat up or anything like that.
Okay. Before we move on, in regards to your father, your relationship with your father and masculinity when you're growing up, how did having 5 sisters affect you as a young man in regards to masculinity?
Well, I felt like I had to really define myself in complete opposition to the way my sisters define themselves. So if they embraced, and which oftentimes they did embrace, very feminine or socially constructed feminine behaviors, I often try to define myself in a completely opposite way. So if they were doing well in school, I was trying to act out in school. You know, if we were in church on a particular Sunday and they are sitting nicely, then I would often be the one to cut up, you know. And that wasn't always the case. Sometimes my sisters were the ones cutting up, and, you know, we were at it together in the same way, just being kids. But oftentimes it was like, whatever my sisters are doing, I'm doing the complete opposite. Because I did not want to be grouped as, oh, another sister. I didn't want to be the 6th sister. I wanted to be Vernon, the only son, the male. And I had to do whatever I could to really mark my space within the household. People used to always say, you have such long eyelashes. You look like you're wearing mascara. And I was just like,
oh my gosh.
no,
That's really tough. That could hurt your identity.
Yeah, for sure. But I was like, no, listen, I'm all boy. And
Okay.
so it was always this constant, like, feeling like I needed to prove myself in so many ways.
Excellent. So let's get to your father growing up, and I guess him being a minister. And I guess it was hard to navigate your manhood and masculinity with him being a minister, because one of the things I did read in your article was he didn't really show much emotion outside of the pulpit.
No, my father is very, very like a stoic individual, very much so. I remember distinctly at my grandfather's funeral, and I was 17 or 18 at the time. And I remember looking at my mother and seeing her cry at the funeral. And I had never seen my mother cry like this before. And so when I saw her cry, like, it made me cry. And I was just really emotional in that space. And I was like, oh my God, my mom is crying. She's really hurt. She's lost her father. And I remember looking at my father to see his reaction, and just stone face, just no emotion at all. Like, no expression at all. And I was like, what am I must be doing something wrong, you know? My father's always been a great man. He's always been a good provider, always been very solid in terms of discipline and making sure we had good values and morals. But when it came to the emotional side of things, he just wasn't that type of man. He just wasn't that type of father that would tell you that he loves you just because. In fact, I may have heard my father tell me he loves me, maybe, if I'm being clear on this, I would say like maybe 7 times in my entire life.
Wow.
And so that's just how he was. I don't think his father gave that to him, and so he really didn't know how to express that in return to his children. So I don't fault him for who he is or how he raised us. He did the best that he could, but when it came to the emotional side of things, that just wasn't his piece.
What effect did that have on you as you were growing up as a young man, especially?
Well, I always felt like I was trying to impress him in certain ways and trying to be the son that he wanted. I knew that he was happy with me. I never felt like my father didn't love me. It wasn't one of those pieces. But I knew that as his only son, there was a lot of pressure that came with that. There was a lot of expectation around the type of person I would be, the type of boy I would be, the type of man I would be. And so part of me always kept that in a part of my mind, and part of the way in which I thought about my life was, okay, as I make these decisions, how does that reflect my father's understanding and vision? How do I live up to that expectation of who he is and what he expects of me? Because I was the only one, and my sisters were not or are not able to carry on our last name in the same way that I can. And so I felt a lot of pressure growing up to try and conform and try and do things according to how he wanted me to. There was that side of me, and there was other side of me that was in complete opposition, that did not want to do anything according to him, because I wanted to let him know that I was my own man in itself, that I wasn't him, you know. And so there's this conflict. I think that we all experience that from time to time, where you want to please your parents, but at the same time you want to create your own identity outside of the context of your family. And so I dealt with that growing up.
To this day, well, are your parents still alive?
Yeah, they both are still alive. Mm-hmm.
Just out of curiosity, have you ever addressed this with your father at all?
We've had conversations here and there. We've had some topical conversations around these issues, but we've never had a very in-depth conversation. Probably when he looks at this interview, if he looks at it, this would be his first time hearing some of these things that I'm saying to you right now. Well, because we don't have that kind of relationship where he's like, let's talk.
Right. Okay, we're just frozen for a moment. Let's pray we're going to get him back. Okay, folks, we're just waiting to get Vernon back. His connection has frozen for a moment. Okay, so he has dropped. So we will get him back in just a moment, but getting some good conversation there. And what a powerful thing for him to share, saying that he's only had his father say he loves him 7 times in their existence. That's quite a statement to make. Well, let's see if we can get him back. We're waiting to get him back on the line. So that's we have Vernon Lindsay talking about his article, When Pretty Boys Become Men. So we are trying to get him back on the line. Okay, not successful as of yet. And this issue of manhood is has been an ongoing one, and one of the reasons why I do what I do online is to, for men and those who love them. And this is a great example of one of those type of conversations, epic conversations I love doing, where Vernon is in a comfortable environment to share some things that are not easy. They're not easy at all for most men to talk about, but he is, pardon me, comfortable enough to share. Still trying to get a hold of him. Okay, so we are still working on getting Vernon back. We'll see if we can get him back on the conversation here. And it was just getting really, really good, and we lost him. So, and I didn't realize that. Well, I know he had moved to Mexico, so I did realize that. So, oh, okay. Let's see if we can get him back.
Hello?
Hello, are you back with us?
I am here. Can you see me?
Cannot see you. Oh, hold on a second.
Okay.
No, we don't see. Right. We don't see you yet.
I can see you now. I couldn't see you before.
Oh, there. That's an interesting switch. Before you couldn't see me. Now you can see me, but we can't see you. Oh boy. All right. This is interesting here. All right. Let's see something. Why don't you do this? I'm gonna hang up and give me a call again. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we're just working on some technical issues here. Okay, we have got you sort of back. Okay, a screen. It just looks like you're on Wi-Fi. It sounds like. Okay, can you hear us, Vernon, at all?
I can hear you.
Okay, just that your screen is frozen because of the internet connection here. Are you using Wi-Fi? Are you?
Yeah, I'm connected to my routers.
Okay, yeah, it just seems that the internet connection is not the best, because we can hear you. It's okay, the audio, but your video is frozen. Okay. Yeah, it says the connection's very low. Okay, why don't I hang up? Give me another call again, please. All right, so again, we're just trying to get Vernon Lindsay back on. There seems to be some technical issues on his end. So we're going to do our best to get him back on the line. Just want to update you on some more epic conversations that are happening tonight. This is August 9th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We have Elmwood Watson talking about O.J. Simpson. He has recently written an article called "I'm Not Black, I'm O.J." Enough said about that type of conversation. So we're just going to wait it out to see if we can get Vernon Lindsay on. Also coming up tomorrow night at 9 p.m. I've had to postpone it for a week or two, but most Thursday evenings, the last Thursday of each month, we do. Oh, let's see if we can get him back. Vernon back here. Okay, that's a little bit better. All right. Yeah, we got you back here. So, all right, we've got Vernon back. And we left off in regards to your father and just the effects of growing up with a father. I guess maybe I'm going to put an analogy. It almost seems like you were walking a fine line with your father, or your relation with your father, because there was one part of you that wanted to please him, but there was another part wanting to be yourself.
Absolutely. Definitely a part of me that wanted to resist everything that he was teaching me. I definitely enjoyed spending time with him and being by his side whenever we would go out to different activities at the church or in regards to church-related outings or events. But there was also a part of me that really wanted to just be myself. Like I remember when I was 16, I decided to get my ears pierced.
Oh, wow. I want to hear this story.
My parents told me not to do it. But of course, I was in that space where I was like, listen, I'm a man, I'm going to do what I want to do. And so I went and got my ears pierced at the mall with one of my friends. And I came home, and he was not happy. He was really upset. And this is the thing that really kind of intrigues me about the situation, because I know that he was upset because he wanted much more for me, and he did not want others to look at me as some thug or as some person who didn't have goals, or as a person who wasn't going to do anything with their life. And I think that was a big part of it. But another part of me was that he was really concerned about what others would think of him as a father, given his role and his rank within the church. And so I know that he was disappointed with some of those decisions that I made. And, but that was a part of the process of growing up.
Sure.
You can only do so much to please your parents, and you have to kind of carve out your own way.
Fully understand. I can relate. My dad was a teacher for 32 years in the same public school, and I always share the story that when I was graduating from grade 8, I received an award from the Minister of Education. Come off the stage, the first thing I was expecting to get from my dad was congratulations. The first thing he said to me, "You're going to university." I said, "I haven't even started high school yet." And you already got me in university. So I can fully relate in regards to that sort of environment that, you can't be, you're walking a fine line. You want to please, especially your dad, but you want to be your own man also.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Well, let's get to this article itself, and let's get some of the background behind this great article that you've written. And where did the power come to write this, When Pretty Boys Become Men? It's a very interesting background, so I'd love you to share it with our audience.
Yeah, so originally I decided to write the piece based on some of the material of a book that I wrote, and I'm working with a publisher right now to get that published and have it out before the end of 2017, but early spring of 2018. If all goes well, we've been going back and forth negotiation for some time now. So I wrote the piece thinking about the content of my book. And then I shot it off to somebody. It was an earlier version of the article that I wrote that I sent out to someone, and I asked for some feedback. And he took a look at it. He was like, "This is great, but this is really just about your story." and you need to add more analysis that really men can walk away with and apply in their lives. So the next day I went on a trip to Chicago, and I was there meeting with a company that does diversity and inclusion work. And the evening after our last meeting, I went to the store to get some items. As I said in the beginning, we live in Mexico now, and so there's certain items in the United States that we don't have access to that we wanted to have back here. And so I went to the store, got the items that I needed, and I got to the cashier, and she said to me, I don't normally wear suits, but I had a suit on and tie and all that. She said to me, she said, you know, you're really pretty. And I kind of looked at her, and, you know, and I said, you know, I really used to hate it when people would say that to me as a boy. But she said, no, you know, no, I didn't mean it in any kind of way. I was just trying to give you a compliment. I was like, okay, thank you. But I told that story to my wife, and then the next day I started writing. And then that's where that piece came out of, is thinking about that experience with the cashier, and then also thinking about my childhood. As I told you before, I used to hear, you know, you look like a girl because you have these long eyelashes, like you're wearing mascara. And I heard that as a child, and people started saying, you know, you're such a pretty boy. And then there's one point in my life where I embraced it and I thought it was.
Okay, we've lost Vernon again. We're just waiting to. Well, let's. Yeah, it looks like we've lost him again, connection-wise, unfortunately. That's unfortunate because he's really sharing some great. Oh, we've lost him again. So let me see if I can get him back. Okay, again, we are experiencing technical difficulties on Vernon's end, so we're doing what we can to get him back. And we'll see. And again, it sounds like his connection where he resides in Mexico is not 100% strong, unfortunately, so we're going to work with it. Yeah, we're still not getting him back. So we'll wait for him to call back. So let's just do some fill-in time. One of the things I want to tell people, and I have got to start including on my posts, I'm getting a little bit more, how can I say, more active on a new platform called Anchor. And for those who are not aware with Anchor, what Anchor allows you to do is like 5-minute audio broadcasts. So it's like a micro podcast platform. And the great thing about it is you can record it and you can send out the message to your Twitter followers, your Facebook followers. I've been told also you can also send it out and send out to YouTube also. So if that's the case, that's great. And also one of the nice things they've just added is the Anchor video. And what that means is that you don't get to add a video with it, but what it can do, it can transcribe the words that you've put in the Anchor broadcast, and they can actually have them show up on the screen. So very cool feature. If you want, I can touch base with me, or I can give you the website address for the app. It's anchor.fm, and you can record anchor video. Oh, let's see if we got Vernon back. He is.
Right.
He's changed locations. There you go. He's changed locations on us. Let me just make sure everything's looking good. Okay. Yes, we've got you. All right, and if you just your screen up a little bit, I mean your camera up a little bit, so we can get, or you can sit back, whatever one is easier for you. And either tilt it up a little bit, your camera, or sit back a little bit. Either one is. Oh, put it the other way. Put it the other way. Push it up. Push it up. No. Okay, actually, no. You gotta push your camera.
Okay. Where are we now? Did you get it?
The audio is good. The video is set right now. I only see you from your eyes down. Or the audience is only seeing you from the eyes down. Okay, that's better. Getting better. That's good. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. So before we got cut off technical wise, again, you were saying about, the event that made you write this article, and you went back to your wife. And what did your wife have to say about that situation?
She was just like, pretty. And I was just like, yeah, I haven't heard that since I was a kid, but I think I told her, I think she was trying to be flirtatious, and that was pretty much it in the conversation. We just kind of left it alone. And then the next morning, I just poured it into the piece, and it came out the way it did.
It was interesting, as I was discussing with Vernon ahead of time. I was raised that men are not regarded as pretty; they're regarded as handsome. Right. So it's just very interesting. One of the many things that attracted me to that post about that regard of men being pretty. How long did it take you to write the post?
So I think I'm a little bit of what's the right words? How do I put this? I'm not insane or perfectionist, but I have a very strenuous kind of writing process. This piece took me, I would say, over the course of about 10 days.
Okay.
And it wasn't that I was working on it every single day. I wrote the piece the first time, it took like 3 hours. I got some feedback on it. I worked on some other pieces. I came back to it. Then I came back, and then I had the experience at the store, and that's when it all came together. And it came out, the way that it did. I was really happy with it. I still can look at it and say, I could have said this a little bit different. But that's the process of writing. You're always seeing things in ways that you can improve. That's what makes you good at what you do. You're always looking for ways to improve it. So that's always a part of that process.
It's very interesting how much you relive some of your growing up in this piece. And was this an opening up time for yourself? Had you had a chance to look at your masculinity in the way that you did in this post in the past, or was this something that was one of those moments for you?
Well, no, it wasn't the first time that I've done a piece like that. As I said earlier, the material came out of the book that I wrote. And so I was thinking about different chapters in the book where I talked about my upbringing and how that shaped the way I understood myself as a black male. And so I've been going through this deepening process over the course of about a year and a half as I was writing the book. And so writing that piece was just kind of another strand of that.
Okay. You share in the piece that some of the challenges that Black boys are challenged with when it comes to masculinity is sports, music, girls.
Yes.
How do you feel, if at all, has this changed from when you were a young man? Are those still the main challenges you feel that young boys are growing up with in regards to masculinity and identity?
I think very much so. They're still relative to today. You know, I still work with young Black boys, and when I go into the schools, when I talk to them about their experiences, their ambitions, the desires they have, I have some brothers who say, "Yeah, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a scientist." But the majority are like, "I want to play professional sports." They see that that is the best option for them. And then there's also this piece around, you know, they're so focused on attracting the opposite sex that sometimes that interferes with their ability to study and to do well. And so I still feel like definitely wanting to be in sports because you see that through television, through social media, you see that as the dominant images of Black males, you begin to think that those are your best options. You know, same thing when it comes to music, you begin to assume that those are your options for your life because that's what you are bombarded with on a daily basis. You know, and so if there are very few people within your environment who are doing things other than excelling in sports or doing something with music, then you believe those are your options. You know, you have to sort of play that game in order to really survive in some ways. It's really sad, but that's the reality of so many of our young Black males out there.
Need a small favor from you. We'll take 10 seconds. Can you just move your screen down just a little bit for us, or our camera? That's better. Yep, beautiful.
Okay.
With this, who do you feel is at fault, or what areas are at fault if this situation is the same now as it was when you were growing up? What's the ball been dropped, or who's dropped the ball? Is there any responsibility? Whose responsibility has it been for not trying to make this change?
Well, I wish I could pinpoint it to one person or one group of people to say that this is where
Yeah.
we lost the mark. I think that it's been something that's been ingrained within the system, within multiple systems within the United States. I mean, the sting of racism is alive and well. And I think we just need to just acknowledge that is still a part of the education system that we have. It's still a part of the healthcare system that we have there. That's still a part of the government as a whole that exists within the United States. You still have that. You still have that within the criminal justice system. You still have that element. You still have the construction of gender and the ways that we define ourselves are in complete accordance with these social frameworks that no longer serve the same purposes that they once did. So it's really hard to say that, you know, one person or one group of people is responsible for this. I mean, these are entire systems that have been impacting the lives of young Black males for many, many years. And unfortunately, it just has not changed in the time that I've been alive. And I don't know that it will change. I want to be optimistic and believe that there's a possibility that things will get better, but I really don't know. I really don't know.
Okay. Is there any, and there's multiple groups, system, etc., that are at fault here, but let me ask from a Black person's perspective, do you feel that the Black environment has any responsibility for this situation at this time?
As in terms of the Black community? Or
yes.
I think they have.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I think that they are the products of they're the products of systems. They're the products of miseducation. They're the products of inadequate healthcare. They're the products of a criminal justice system that seeks to target them. I mean, it's really difficult to say that they are responsible for the condition or for where they are in life, and they have these systems that have reproduced these certain types of thinking, these certain types of behaviors that are oftentimes destructive. And so I'm not saying that we don't have any responsibility in the decisions that we make, but I think we need to also acknowledge that there are larger systems that impact the ways that we think and process those decisions. And so as an oppressed group of people, there's this reality that we have to deal with that. The way or the way that we have come to understand who we are has been impacted by those experiences that have been created by individuals and systems that have not been in our favor. So, yes, they're responsible to the degree that you understand that they have been impacted by a system that has caused them to think that these are the options that they have. You know, and we obviously can't say that this is the entire Black community. There are some members of the Black community that are doing well, that are making positive decisions, that are impacting change, that are doing great things. But there are others who have been so beat up, you know, centuries of oppression, that they begin to think that there's only one way to make a living. There's only one way to survive, and that oftentimes is involving negative and illegal means.
I find it fascinating that you made a decision with your family to move to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
How, and you have two sons, how has the environment there, either good or bad, affected your raising and influencing Black male masculinity in that environment? And if any way, would that be different if you were still in America?
Well, I would say with regards to my sons, it's allowed me to be more active and a part of their lives. My sons are now 4 and 5. And in the United States, I was working every day outside of the home. I was working at the university, and then also had a business I was doing in the evening. And so I wasn't as home as frequently at home as I wanted to be, because I just had so many responsibilities outside of the home. So being here in Mexico enables me to be more present, more part of their lives on a daily basis. There were times in Chicago when I would see them in the morning, and I would see them at night when we were putting into bed, and that would be the extent of it. But now I have a lot more opportunity to spend more time with them. I do travel now, but you know, I work from home. I do my writing. I do my major work from my home spaces, so I'm able to see them, able to walk them to school in the morning, able to pick them up from school in the afternoon. And so I'm allowing that relationship to be tighter because I don't have those same responsibilities outside of home. So, you know, I don't think that the way I'm teaching them to be Black males is any different than how we teach them to be Black males in the United States. They're still very young at this point, and so right now my goal as a father is to show them as much love as possible and to just support them in any way that they may need me at this point in their lives.
What do you get a chance to have discussions with Black men about Black masculinity, Black male masculinity? And if you do, what are you hearing from them?
Well, I haven't had any opportunities to speak with Black males about Black masculinity, probably in about, I would say, 6 months or so. Since I've been out here, the strain has been to get back to the United States and get into schools to offer the type of consultation services that I would like to. Everyone is talking about budget, and so we have these issues when you have to fly someone from outside of the country. And so I haven't been able to have those conversations in those spaces that I would like to. I mean, I've had some conversations where, you know, they take place over the phone with some friends of mine, and we talk about different issues, and we've talked about the struggles that come with being a Black male in the United States, but we haven't been able to really get into those really in-depth conversations about masculinity in the way that I would like to.
If and I'm speaking, you're going to have those conversations in the near future. What you will. I'm speaking. You've got favor, my man. You're going to have them. You're going to have them. What would you like to talk about, or what would you like to say? Do you have go ahead.
I think it was really important when it comes to masculinity that we really understand and define our identities for ourselves. I know that's really difficult for people to embrace because you're being told every day what you should and should not be as a man in our society. But I think a big part of being a man is being able to really define your identity for who you are and not feel restricted by any gender roles, you know. And so what I want me to take away from the piece is that when it comes to raising their sons, when it comes to raising other boys, is that, I really want you to embrace them for who they are, to love them for who they are, and not try to put them into a box as to what you think they should be in order for them to be recognized as a boy or as a man. It's important that we start from young to teach them to embrace who they are from a very positive perspective and allow them to grow. Sure, we can give them some ideas, we can try and shape them the best way that we can, but in the end, we need to ultimately enable them to be their best selves.
Compare your youth to the times of your youth and masculinity compared to the environment you and your sons are right now. Obviously, two different times, two different environments. What have you learned from you being raised and your journey about masculinity that you want to make sure your sons get, that you may not have had or went missing from your journey of masculinity, especially when you were younger?
Well, one of the things I really pride myself in doing is just telling my sons I love them. It's very simple, but it's something that I'm always aware of in terms of making sure that I tell them that I love them, making sure that I hug them, making sure that I kiss them, and just showing them the affection that I didn't often get as a child because my father had understood his identity as, having to be this very stoic and non-emotional person. And so for me, it's just really about showing them as much love as possible and allowing them to develop in their own way. Since we've been here, my sons are now speaking Spanish. Before we came here, they were not. They were just
Wow.
speaking English.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, it's really amazing because they're in school every day. They picked it up really quickly. And so, I mean, that in itself is allowing them to define their identity a little bit differently than how they would have defined themselves within the United States, because they're now being able to be fluent between two languages and to express themselves in different ways. And so for me, it's just really about showing them love, showing them support, and just helping them grow and be as strong as they possibly can be, and allowing them to just embrace everything that it means to be in this new environment, to be in this new culture. And so my goal as a father is really just to help them, again, just be the best that they can be.
Okay. Just sticking on the subject of raising two boys of color in another country, do you have any concerns about the potential effect on their black masculinity, that they're in a country where there probably isn't a lot of boys that look like them?
Right. No, they get that all the time. My boys have dreads like I do as well, so we draw extra attention. They're like, who are these little black boys? Or they think they're girls oftentimes. These little black girls with this long hair. And I've had to tell them we haven't really had like deep conversations in terms of like who they are, but my son has said, am I Mexican? And I might say, no, you're black, you're a black male. And so, but I'm not really like restricting them. Like I want them to really embrace who they are, everything that is a part of their upbringing now. So if they identify with Mexico and they identify with their experience in the United States, they identify with being black, that's fine for me as well. Definitely teaching them to be proud of who they are, but I'm also teaching them to not feel restricted by how they are often defined.
Oh, as we wrap up our conversation here, what do you want people to get from your article? What message? And also, I guess, not only what message, let me break it down. What would you want women to get from your article?
That's a good question. For women who have a partner in their lives, a male partner in their lives that is actively involved in raising their son, I would want the women in their lives to embrace the courage to say something to their partner when he tries to reinforce his very dominant versions of masculinity upon their son. I'm not saying that I'm perfect in this area, that I always do the right thing in terms of making sure my sons are well-rounded. I have challenges like any other man when it comes to making sure you give your son the proper global perspective of who they can be. But I think I want women just to understand that there's not one way for boys to define who they are. And so if they are involved with a partner and the partner is really coming down on their son for not living up to a man and saying something like, just be a man, man up, push back and say, how do you define manhood? And allow that conversation to take place. And so my goal for the women who read the piece and understand something and take something from it is for them to develop that courage to say, hey, just because your son is not fitting X, Y, and Z's definition of manhood doesn't mean he's not a good person, doesn't mean he's not a boy, doesn't mean he's not a man, doesn't have value in our society.
Now, that message you gave for women, does that go for women that have a man in their lives raising sons? Is it any different for women who are raising boys on their own?
It's really difficult for women who have the responsibility to raise sons by themselves, and but at the same time, it's the same big takeaway is that I wouldn't want a woman who is raising her son to believe that she has to teach her son to be a man, so to speak. That boy has to come to that understanding by himself. She can love him, she can give him the affection, the attention, and the support that he needs, but she shouldn't feel that responsibility for him to understand what it is to be a man based on her model, based on what she tells him. And so it's really about giving him the love, giving him the support, but allowing him to just grow into who he wants to be. Now, if he is going into a direction that is not favorable, you definitely want to be able to, pull him back and help him to have some positive examples of what a good man is. But you have to be open to that space to also just allow him to be who he is and figure that role out for himself.
And what is your message for Black men that you want them to get out of your piece?
My big takeaway for Black men is just that, when you have sons, when you're in these mental relationships, is that, again, that you allow them to truly embrace all of their identity. Allow them to do the things that you may believe are not along the spectrum of being a man, and allow them just to be who they are. Listen to what they have to say. That's really, really important. If I could take one big piece of information that I really want men to understand from the article is that you have to listen to who they are telling you that they are. We often want to assume that we are the authority on everything, especially when it comes to manhood, but sometimes we just need to listen and hear what they're saying that they are and what they represent, and just be the love and support that they can be, or that you can be, in order to allow them to really bring that into fruition.
What's the reaction been to the article?
So far, it's been overwhelmingly positive. A lot of positive feedback. A lot of people have been sharing it through Facebook. Been getting email messages, social media, followers, and requests. So it's been really, really positive. People really appreciated the piece that I put out there.
Excellent. Well, that's good. What is up next in regards to your writing? You did mention a book. Are you going to be writing articles in between that, or is the book the main focus at the present time?
Well, I have this personal blog on my website that I still update every week, 2 to 3 times a week. I put a piece out on there. I'm still writing articles for Thrive Global and the Good Men Project. I'm going to put another piece out there. The book project, until I hear back from my publisher, that's not the immediate focus. I have other articles and things I'm working on. Once I get a firm date from the publisher and get the feedback of this latest draft, then I'll have to shift my attention to finishing that so that it can get out on its release date. But right now, I'm just continuing to write, put out content on my website, and put out content for other sources that I'm looking right for.
Well, we'll wrap it up right there. Vernon, thank you so much for taking time in your positive, productive schedule to share with us. Also, thanks for taking time from family time to share with us. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
The best way to get in touch with me is through my Facebook page. So, Vernon Lindsay, PhD. If you do a search through Facebook, that's the best way to get in touch. I have an Instagram account as well, so you can look me up there. Or through my website, dlindsayphd.com is a way to connect with me as well.
Actually, we will have all that contact information on the post with the replay of this epic conversation. And also, congratulations on getting your PhD. That is good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, it's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of epic conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations. As always, I like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Also know I am president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. If you would like to get a complimentary 30-minute empowerment session, you can contact me at Twitter at drvibeshow, website address www.thedrvibeshow.com, and you can email me at dr.vibe@the.drvibeshow, which is THEDRVIBESHOW.com. If you want to see replays of my webcam conversations, certainly just go to the YouTube page, and we have almost 220 followers. We've done that in a very short period of time, so you can catch all my epic conversations video-wise there. And if you feel like it, I'd certainly love you to subscribe to the channel. If you want to hear replays of my conversations audio-wise, you can go to the website. You can go to Apple Podcasts, Tuned In Radio, iHeartRadio, Google Music Play, Stitcher Radio. Selected conversations also are at thegoodmenproject.com, which I'm a contributor to, and Vernon is a contributor to also. And also at, I was thinking, WJMSradio.com out of New York. And if I think anything else, I think that's it for right now. Oh, also one more thing. I'm also a brand ambassador for Cuisine Noir magazine, the only online magazine dedicated to African Americans in food, wine, and culture. So as always, I like to say you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles, and you're a solution for someone's problem. Thank you for listening and watching live or on the replay. And as always, two last things. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. And finally, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. God bless, peace be well, keep the faith, and we will catch you soon on the Dr. Vibe Show, the home of epic conversations. Thanks for watching.